Welcome back to the Courageous Pivot podcast. I'm your host, Meghan Telpner, and today we are diving in on a critical topic as it relates to courageous pivots. We can call it a money part two, though that's not the title, because this time I'm bringing in a financial expert, Christine Labate, to incite, impart, share extremely critically important and practical wisdom. She shares my value set around money as a tool for freedom. And for those of you who feel deep resistance, being like, I don't want to listen to this. I don't want to deal with this. I'm not a money person. I'm not a numbers person. I'm not a spreadsheet person. I can't do this. This is for you. You are going to sit through this hour and you're going to love it or learn to love it because it is super, super important. Not just if you're looking to change your career, start a new business, or anything like that, but as a way to liberate yourself from the worry of money so that you really can live by the heart, live by what is in alignment for who you are and how you want to live your life. Here is Christine's official bio. It goes like this. Christine is an expert business finance coach and the founder of Good Measure Finance, where she guides 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs into powerful financial leadership. With over a decade of experience inside high-performing multi-7-figure companies, she brings a unique and strategic lens to money, helping business owners move beyond reactive decision-making and into intentional, scalable success. Through her work, Christine empowers entrepreneurs to build true financial mastery, transforming confusion into cash, revenue into sustainable profit, and ambition into lasting wealth. Christine and I will talk about how and in what capacity we work together and the role she had in my own courageous pivot. And she provides some really wonderful, practical, foundational guidance to help you either get started or move through, maybe it's get started in your own financial literacy and financial planning, but also moving through the money mindsets that keep us trapped. I hope you enjoy this episode with my friend Christine. Hello, Christine. Welcome to the Courageous Pivot podcast.
Hello, Meghan. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you. It's great to be here.
It's so nice to see you, and so nice to see you in this context. It feels like it's on the other side of a mountain that we were briefly climbing together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So a little background, you are very good friends with Michelle Waith, who is my very good friend. And she had joined my company as operator in 2021, or I think at the beginning of 2022 it was. And I was looking at that point I wasn't quite ready to scale, but Michelle gave me some superpowers that I thought that's what I would do. And she's like, you should meet with my friend Christine. So you came in as a fractional CFO. Do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, a fractional CFO is someone who supports many businesses. So an in-house CFO works for one company. They're, looking at all the numbers, managing all of the money. Fractional CFO is really helping multiple businesses I use the word fractional, but in a more part-time way. So we're looking at the most important things, and then kind of seeing what the gaps are, what the red flags are, how we can improve for, to align with the business owner's goals.
So you came in because in January 2023, because I was poised to scale. I was going to double my revenue. I was launching this private membership group, and I've always had a really good handle on my numbers.
Yeah.
But you can compliment me here.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't want to speak over you, but yeah, you do. You really do.
Thanks, Christine. Yeah. But at that point, I wanted some really quantifiable goals to reach because I was launching a new revenue stream that I had plans for it to be really substantial. So over the span of 3 months, we went through everything. And the grand finale at the end of March or early April, you presented me with a beautiful branded in my brand colors spreadsheet. It's like the first spreadsheet I ever fell in love with, really.
Amazing.
And you gave me these goals to reach. And I was like, all right, we're doing it. And then my launch didn't reach the initial goal that we had set. And I was like, what is going to have to happen for me to reach the numbers in each of these little boxes? And it was having that exquisitely clear layout that you'd provided and the deep conversations we'd had about finances which ultimately led me to the empowered decision I made that I didn't actually want to continue.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all your fault that I shut down.
I'm
No, I'm
very
kidding.
sorry and also very happy that it was my fault.
Yeah. Well, I think that what it speaks to, and, we both have a passion for finance, personal and business, is how powerful it is to actually know what's going on in your finances. And most people, that's sort of the first thing that stops them is
Absolutely.
this unknown fear, which we're going to get to, and you're going to share all your tips and wisdom. But first, let's talk about your own financial journey, specifically around a pivot you made, which is what a lot of people are sort of going through the process of who are listening, which is leaving something stable to go into the unknown. And Michelle, because you used to work together and you both had full-time
Yeah.
salaried jobs
Yeah.
at the same company.
Yeah. 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 So first, I want to say, an official congrats, I think, on your pivot, because I think it's been such a beautiful unfolding for you. And I think the numbers really led you here. As amazing as you were with all of your numbers, and you really were, like the caliber of clientele that I work with are incredible human beings, incredible business owners, but nowhere near as together with their finances as you were. So A+ check mark. But yeah, those numbers inform, and data informed decisions is, in my opinion, the only way to run a business. My journey into Good Measure Finance started because I had spent years and years and years working with high level companies and businesses and owners in one business in one capacity. And I started to just kind of see the same patterns with money over and over again, the same patterns with how the money was being managed over and over again. And I really wanted to touch more entrepreneurs before they got to that level, before they got to the level of danger zone or things being detrimental or, really uncomfortable or frustrating, and having to like run forward and make all the revenue because the finances are on fire behind you. So yeah, pivoting from a, safe, cushy position was a leap of faith, but something that I had wanted to do for so long, and it has done nothing but show me it was the right choice over and over again. I get to work with business owners anywhere from, just hitting six figures to the mid six figures, high six figures, into the seven figures. And it is such a joy to be able to help business owners understand the numbers in their business, which is such a blind spot for many entrepreneurs. They think that having an accountant is a financial strategy. It's not. They think that making money will solve all the problems that they have in the back end. It does not. They don't value cash flow because they aren't taught to value cash flow. And getting to work with these business owners every day and providing them with a plan similar to yours, in like, here are your goals, here are your red flags, here's what we need to do to get there, so that they have the data, the information to be able to get there instead of just like running forward with blinders on, So yeah, it's a big pivot for me, but I could not be happier. And the business is, booming, and my clients are incredible. And I feel so honored to be able to help translate what the money in the business is trying to tell everyone. Yeah.
Before you made the leap, I believe you chose to leave. It wasn't, did you choose to leave, or were you not given the choice?
Mutual. Yeah.
Okay. What did you have in place so that you kind of had that runway to manage, or were your finances already in a great place to be able to do that?
Yeah. So in my 20s, my finances were a mess. I was dealing with pretty much my whole life until the late 20s, an upper level limit issue, which I did not know was mine. It was kind of an imprinted belief that came from,
Tell us what that
yeah, it came
is.
from my mother. My mother had a sentence. You know how moms just have sayings when you grow up? And she would always say, "We're lucky in love, but not in money." She would say that and say that
Mm.
and say that all the time. If, we were very middle class, had everything we needed, but not a lot of extras. And she would always say, "We're lucky in love, but not in money." And I just didn't realize how much that imprinted onto me. And so I found
Interesting.
myself entering the workforce and thinking that I'm going to be lucky in love and I'm not going to be lucky in money, and never really reaching I was in debt. I was getting passed over for promotions in my jobs. I was very paycheck to paycheck. It was just very like, I'm not doing anything for my financial future here. And I was like, that's okay. That's my family. That's my story. I think I was like 29 28, when I was like, this isn't mine. Like, what's happening here? And when I started to dismantle that, everything changed. Everything changed. I was able to save, get out of debt, be promoted into high level, high title positions, and put my financial, house in order. So by the time that pivot came, I was very much, in control and ready to go. I had a little nest egg that would have lasted me about a year. Things started to take off in the business quite quickly. I think it was a good 4 months that I was creating, you know, trying to put the runway out in front of me. Around the
Yeah.
6-month mark, things started to pick up. And then, thankfully, gratefully, it just kind of kept unfolding. Yeah.
I think it's a testament to your just the basic thing of knowing that you had a 1 year nest egg, because very few people even know what that annual cost of living is to know if they have enough to do anything.
Absolutely.
The money imprint, I grew up, and I'm very grateful. The money imprint I grew up with was do not spend what you don't have.
That's such an
And
important
that's
one.
it's such a good one, which I never thought of it. And I didn't grow up wanting, like my mom is a very, very practical person. So I didn't get whatever I wanted,
Mhm.
but I never felt like I was deprived in any major way in my life, but it was just and so even as my business grew, I only invested what I already had.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to do more or grow more, I needed to earn more and able to be able to do that.
Yeah. And that's honestly, Megan, something that a lot of business owners don't know, and they never learn that lesson. They never learn that lesson. So they're spending what they do not have in hope that what they want will come, but they're not laying out the bricks of creating that path properly. They're putting themselves too much in a profit dip to climb the mountain of revenue. They're scaling too quickly. They're making these mistakes. They're sacrificing cash flow. So that is an incredibly important way to run your business, and a lesson that you learned. Yeah.
And you also made a comment earlier about how money does not solve the problem in most
Oh,
cases.
yeah.
So, personal life and in business, people often think, I just need to make more money. I just need to earn more money. But if you don't know how to actually manage it,
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with earning more income, more revenue doesn't solve cash flow issues. If you have a fundamental cash flow issue in your business, more revenue is the biggest band-aid fix I've ever seen for cash flow issues. More revenue doesn't fix if your pricing isn't even profitable. It doesn't fix expense problems. It doesn't fix ROIs, return on investments, that are broken. It doesn't fix poor money mindset or money traumas that are, held by the business owner. So I work with high income businesses every single day, and I see that just making more revenue doesn't solve problems. It band-aid fixes, but you're going to stay stuck in the same cycle because you're never really dealing with the issue.
there's two things I want to bring up from what you just said. One is the mindset, and one is the general revenue issue. So, you said you grew up with this imprint and you were able to shift it. Was it just an awareness of it,
Yeah.
and that was all it took, or did you get guidance, counsel from outside?
I think it started with a spark of awareness of like, because I've always been a very ambitious person, very motivated, very, autonomous and all of that. And I had goals for my career from a young age. And just being at that age and being like, I'm not here yet. And I'm not even close, It was started with an awareness, a whisper that turned into a louder voice that just kind of forced some deeper self-awareness and deeper reflection and introspection on like, hey, I think I'm the problem. It's not that my credit card is too high because blah, blah, blah. It's not because, oh, that, I got passed up for that promotion because that business owner didn't see my value. I'm like, I think I'm the problem here. And then, yeah, just externally kind of at the time learning, starting to learn about money mindset and hearing things from different places, kind of just self-learning that I had to take myself out of that. And it's a process, right? So if there's anyone listening with imprinted beliefs or limits or ceilings, bringing awareness to it is the first step in dismantling it.
And the other thing you mentioned was the idea of mismanaging the revenue, or thinking that increasing your revenue will solve the cash flow issues. And what I see a lot of, and I'm privy to what goes on in my friends' businesses because we talk about it. And I would talk about money with
Yeah.
anyone, but most people don't actually want to talk about
Yeah.
it.
I love it.
But what I see a lot of online, especially with sort of like the big name influencers, and we'll leave their names out of it, but celebrating specific gross revenue milestones, like I reached $1 million in revenue, or I reached $100 million in sales, without actually saying, but those $100 million in sales cost me nine, whatever it is, just under what they actually brought in. and how critical that is, where so many people want that top level celebratory number without recognizing how critical the bottom line is when everything's paid for in the end.
Yeah, the bottom line is the thing that matters. Your bottom line in your business should be your biggest flex, not how much you make.
Yeah.
That's impressive. And as entrepreneurs, we like that. We like the chase of getting to those numbers, right? And there's a lot of noise online about that. I made 6 figures in 6 minutes. My launch did 7 figures in 7 days. Like, that's all impressive, and it makes everyone listening want to. It's seductive. It makes us all want that. But I can tell everyone listening, I see what's happening in the back end of these businesses every single day, and it's not always pretty. There are owners who are of 7-figure businesses who are barely paying themselves because they can't afford it. They are letting team members go. They are leaning on multiple lines of credit and loans. They do not have cash in the bank. So your bottom line should be the most important thing in your business. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I've had multiple 6-figure days. I've had multiple 6-figure days in a single month, and it took me 15 years to be able to achieve that. Like, it wasn't, I wouldn't call it like, oh, I had, a $500,000 week. It was, I had a $500,000 10-year buildup that, had resulted in a really great week.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you work with people who are often making sort of life changes in their personal life or looking to make changes in their businesses. What is the most frequent fear that you see come up that keeps people stuck in repeated patterns?
Seeing what is in front of them, seeing how bad things have gotten actually keeps them in freeze. It keeps them in not a fight, flight, or freeze. It keeps them in freeze. So they bury their head in the sand even more. They will look for bridge financing when they don't know if they can even afford those monthly payments for the bridge financing. So they're getting a loan and then literally using any money that comes in toward that loan. They're stuck in the debt cycle really hard. They're afraid of what they see in front of them, so they immediately enter avoidance and distraction. And the focus is, because it's all they know, because they haven't learned their finances, how to manage their finances properly or lead their business financially, is I'll just make more money. I'll just make more money. I'll just make more money. It's the biggest problem. So avoidance and looking at the wrong metrics, right? Not having the financial foundation and education of what numbers actually matter in my business other than revenue. If you're looking at your profit and loss every month, that's great, but your profit and loss is fundamentally limited and it's not telling you everything you need to know. So, and then that, and also thinking that their accountant or someone else, a partner, a father, whoever it might be in their business, an accountant, a bookkeeper, will swoop in and save the day and bring them the red flags and say, hey, this isn't working. And oftentimes those support roles do not work in the capacity to tell you what's going to happen in the future of your business. They're looking at past data, what happened in September. They're going to report that to you in October. So they're looking at past data, reporting that to you in the present. The fundamental missing piece is somebody looking at that information, projecting, forecasting, what does this mean for my future? So it's avoidance and then just not knowing what they don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the same exact thing applies to personal as well. Like, a lot of this is really for people who may not even have a business, but the same problems are applying in their personal finances, and they don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
And don't know how to start figuring it out.
Yeah.
And also using that bridge financing, getting loans to just pay for the cars or for the mortgage or for whatever it is. And the cost of being stuck starts to stack up.
Yeah. It's the same premise for personal, right? It's the same premise, not understanding. Like, I truly believe everyone should have business budgets and personal budgets to make sure that what you're paying yourself from your business or what you're getting paid from your employer is enough for you to run your life. And if it isn't, you have to either adjust how you're running your life or you need to adjust your job. But getting stuck in the debt cycle is very tough to get out of. And there's so many people in there who just have tons and tons and tons of debt. Debt isn't fundamentally a bad thing. We use debt to leverage positions. We can use debt strategically. But most business owners are doing it out of reactivity. And that's when it becomes a problem. But it is the same premise for personal. Yeah, absolutely.
And then people end up putting everything they have in their business on sale just to generate income. And then that brings down the overall value of what they're offering.
Yeah, it does. But also, you're putting something on sale, you're discounting, but you're not lowering your expenses. So you might bring in more income, but you're not bringing in more profit. You're actually shrinking your
Right.
profit. So it's again, it's a band-aid. It's kind of a hamster wheel cycle of it seems to help, but it's not helping.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the most powerful things that we did together and that everyone should be doing, even if it's just with their bookkeeper who's looking at their monthly or quarterly, is knowing what brings in what within the business.
Oh my
And
gosh.
same in the personal.
Yeah.
Where is it going?
Yeah. I worked with a client recently who was just about to hit 7 figures, had 4 revenue streams in the business. 3 of them were very profitable, ranging anywhere from, I don't know, 15 to 25, 30% profit. One revenue stream was minus 1000% profit. So the fundamental cash and profit issue in this business was coming from one place. I know it's like, how
Right.
could you not know that? How could you not know that? But if you aren't looking in the right places, you're not going to see that. So finding out, like literally granular, looking under the hood, shining a light is really important. And
Yeah.
not being afraid of what you're going to find when you do that, because knowledge is power. When you find out the problem, you can fix it.
So when someone is planning for the pivot, where can they start personally? Like, how does someone personally start planning financially to be able to, follow their heart and live their dreams?
Well, I think it's really important to have a savings, build a savings. So many people are operating without savings in their personal life and in their business. And depending on what the pivot is, right, we want at least 6 months of savings so that we can go and experiment and play and take time to do what we need to. Whether that's I'm going to leave my job and pursue a new career, I'm going to go back to school, I'm going to start my own business, whatever that is, requires a safety net. And also the timing is really, really important too. So making sure that you have your safety net, starting to build that cash now, starting to save that now, doing things in terms of return on investment, personally or in business, that solve a problem that you have right now. So I'll use the example in a business. A lot of people are joining Masterminds and they're spending exorbitant amounts of money to do so because they want to be in that container and they're going to learn. But so many business owners are not. They're joining something where it's solving a future problem. It's not solving a problem they have right now. And they're just kind of
Can we talk
squandering.
about that for a minute?
Yeah, they're just squandering their money.
Oh boy. Paying $100,000 to sit at a virtual table with someone is not going to fix your business. And unless you're like, really think you need someone else to align with to succeed, in which case you probably just need to work on your own self-worth and self-confidence and capability. But I see this and I'm like, if you have $100,000 available, wow, what could you do with
What
that?
could you do with that exactly? Even $25,000, right? Even
Yeah.
there's really big ticket masterminds out there, but even the $20,000, the $25,000 ones can be really harmful to a business if they don't know that the return on investment of those funds out the door are for the problem that they have right now. You
Yeah.
might be solving problems in that mastermind for something that's going to come across your plate or your desk in 4 years. And that's
Yeah.
all about leaning into your return on investments that make sense right now for your business while knowing your numbers, right? While making sure that you're profitable by reverse engineering it in the back end. It's your secret sauce. It's your magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your magic recipe.
I've been part of a wonderful mastermind community, really, really great since 2020. And the investment was about 3,500, I think, for the year. I never attended the sort of big ticket live 3 to 4 day events, which everyone in the group was like, that was the best week of my life. It was the best investment. But I wasn't looking to partner with anyone on anything. I just wanted, like, when I needed a certain type of lawyer, or I wanted that
Yeah.
resource. And I used the education and the other experts and professionals, and they were very successful people. And even 3,500 to me sometimes is like, is that worth it?
Yeah.
Like, could I have figured this out on my own?
I'm the same. It's terrible actually because I always question, like, can I figure this out myself? Is this something that is right in front of me? And the answer is here. Do I need to pay an expert to help me figure this out? Sometimes the answer is yes, absolutely. If it's a tech
Yeah.
thing, a marketing thing, something out of my expertise, yes. But I'm very wary and I always will question the ROI on something. And is this a problem that I
Mhm.
need solved right now or isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's important for any investment you're going to make too, is knowing what is valuable to you.
Yeah.
If you join something for $100,000 and you meet someone and together you create a program that generates $2 million, that was a great investment.
Yeah.
But if you're there just to show a screenshot of your Zoom call, it's
Yeah.
not going to do it.
Yeah. Or if you're like joining because you want to triple your business, maybe you're at
Yeah.
300,000 today and you're like, I'm going to the mill. But
Yeah.
you might have the front end in place in that mastermind, marketing conversion funnels. You might have all that together. But if no one's looking at the back end, right? There's sometimes such a gap. Like back end and front end have to be almost like a happily married couple. And oftentimes they're not speaking, they're in separate rooms,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar to when your business is suffering or you need media coverage, and then you can buy a cover story for $30,000 from a magazine. You're like, look, I was on the cover of Successful Lady
Yeah.
magazine.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then whenever I see that, because like I used to get pitches for it, and then whenever I see someone on it, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's hard to.
Never paid for those kinds of things. So I just didn't see the value. Like, what could I invest back into my own business in a real way that built lasting returns? And the same for investments in my own life. What would give me those lasting returns of joy, of happiness, of connection, whatever, the factors are in your own life.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
So how would you describe a financial safety net? Like, what would you say someone actually needs to have in place before they throw down their letter of resignation and, peace out into the sunset to go, make pottery?
Yeah. They need their plan. They need, very specifically, they need to know what their next steps are, the timing, how long it's going to take them. So again, whether that's you're going back to school, you're starting your own business, you're selling your whole life, and you're going to go like have a farm stand in the country, you need to have the plan as detailed as possible. For me as a numbers person, seeing what I see every day, data is power. Information is power. So have your plan planned out literally every step of the way. It's important. Because if you don't, it's like building a budget, but then forgetting to put line items on it. That's going to cost you money and that's going to cost you time. So having your plan and making sure that you have that safety net, right? And I can't say like how much money to hold aside because everyone's going to have a different pivot, but 6 months to a year, if you're not going to be bringing in income, making sure that you have that so that you can lean on that. And experimentation is a real thing in the beginning of a pivot. And I'm sure you experienced that as well. Seeing what works, seeing what sticks, there is experimentation. So having your safety net also means having a little bit of additional buffer for the experimentation to see, like, I have to spend this to see if this works. I have to do this to see if this works. So it's creating as much safety and anticipatory savings that you can, but as detailed as possible, as granular as possible. Having your plan, understanding your timing is really, really important. And the financial number that it's going to come down to that you need to have saved for whatever the pivot is going to be individual, really individual, greatly individual. But making sure that you are factoring in padding and factoring in extras for things that you aren't seeing. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't see if the plan's going to go exactly to plan or it's not. So building in buffers and planning and again, like bringing as much awareness to the details of the plan as possible will no doubt bring you to the financial cushion that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's important to talk about it because I think I was able to make the leap I did. There was obviously difficult aspects, but it was never a financial difficulty at play. And I've interviewed other guests who made the leap with no plan.
Yeah. And that happens.
That happens and you can do it. And, some will speak on the more spiritual side of being in an abundance mind state, and the money took care of itself and flowed in, which I also believe is true. However, I think that requires tremendously more courage than having this thing in place.
I believe that as well. A lot of my business is in my own personal business, in attracting clients and reaching revenue milestones, is energetic. It is cleaning up what I believe in my blocks and my limitations, and working with my clients too. I could create for them the best, most successful plan on paper. If they are in a block, if they're in fear, if they're in avoidance, if there is a mindset piece, if there's an energetic block, if there's no abundance, if there's scarcity, that plan doesn't get executed properly. So I truly believe that piece is very, very important. they have to work together, in my opinion. We can't
Mhm.
have the plan without the mindset and the abundance and the manifesting, and we can't have the manifesting without the plan. Because I think, things rooted in me as a CFO has to say this, things rooted in data and information is exceptionally powerful. It's expansive.
Yeah.
It's not restrictive.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah.
And that's just it, is when people are like, I don't want to know, but you have to
Yeah.
know. And I always talk about how money is this, money makes the world go round. Like, yes, you need it to buy your groceries and all and the essentials of life, but it is also a really powerful tool of freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. Even something like creating budgets for your personal life or your business. The word budget inherently has restriction, penny pinching, not scarcity, just like, limitation. And as people and even as entrepreneurs, we don't want that. We don't want someone to tell us we can't spend this on this. We don't want someone to tell us we can't make this investment. We can't do this. But actually, budgets are not that at all. Budgets are incredibly expansive. They tell your money where to go instead of you don't have a budget and you ask, where did my money go? So it's
Mm.
bringing power back into it, even though it feels the word inherently has energy around it of restriction. It's massively expansive. Yeah.
We are going to take a brief break because I wanted to share with you a really powerful course that I created just for you and for those of us who want to pivot. A big part of being able to do so without a lot of fear or worry was understanding my money. Money Mastery is a course I created after doing my pivot because it had been in my heart for so long, even though it had nothing to do with any of the work I was doing. I figured out how money could work for me, how I could empower myself to understand my overall cost of living, and ultimately how to run my personal finances like a successful, profitable small business. In Money Mastery, I break this down for you, starting with your core values, because this has to work for you. We're going to look at your annual spending, and trust me, this is not terrifying. You don't have to share your results with anyone, and knowing is powerful. We're then going to look at your income, what's actually coming in, and understanding what you need to live the life you want to be living. We go through strategies on how to earn more, how to spend less, where and how to invest, what compounding interest can do over the short term and the long term, how to organize your bank accounts, the little bitty simple details that everyone should be learning before they even leave high school, let alone grow up, buy houses, do all the things that adults do. This course is powerful. It's simple to follow. It was designed for everyday people to be able to understand and be empowered with their money. Again, knowledge is power. And once you know, you can rest easy knowing you have enough, and also how to effectively plan for your future. Go to courageouspivot.com and scroll down. You'll see a link to Money Mastery and a 30% off discount code for Courageous Pivot listeners. Get the knowledge you need, set realistic and doable goals, and make it happen. Again, go to courageouspivot.com, scroll down to Money Mastery where you'll find a 30% off link and coupon code to save on your Money Mastery investment, an investment that will have incredible returns. I think you're going to love this. What mistakes do you see people making most often in their business or in their personal finances when they're going through these changes and transitions?
Yeah. So for me, it comes down to not understanding what's driving the needle. If they have a cash flow issue in their business, not understanding what is causing that. There is a cause and effect. A cash flow issue, you want to think of it almost like an earthquake, right? When an earthquake hits, there's very little warning oftentimes. The earthquake happens, no one expected it, it happens, and then there's the aftermath. Those shifts have been building, the pressure underneath the ground has been building for hours, months, weeks. And then the event happens. And it's the same in your business and it's the same in your life. You aren't seeing the clues, the red flags, the shifts happening that are going to lead to this event, this earthquake. So for me, the biggest thing I see is just not looking at the numbers, avoiding the numbers, thinking that making more revenue will solve the problems, right? And then again, thinking that someone will come in and swoop in this save the day for you. It's avoidance that is by default just because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Many people who start a business, they don't They don't get training for that. They are an expert in something. They're an ND, they're a chiro, they're a social media expert, they're a business coach. That's what they do. They aren't finance people. So it's bridging the gap between what you don't know and where you are right now.
What do you think are the biggest blind spots people have when they're dealing with their finances?
It's cash flow.
Cash flow.
It's cash flow. In business, it's cash flow. And I think in personal, it is as well. In business, it's really easy to go astray because even if so you're either in two camps. You're not getting any reporting from a bookkeeper or accountant. You're just using your business, a bank account, to make decisions. I have this in the bank account today. I can do this. I have this in the bank account today. I can pay myself this. Or, which is very dangerous, and I 0 out of 10 do not recommend. Or you have bookkeeping and reporting coming from an accountant or bookkeeper, but you're looking at limited reporting. It's like walking around with broken glasses on. You're seeing some things, but you're not seeing everything.
Yeah.
So, I think it's really, really important to look at the right data. And cash flow is the biggest gap. You can't see cash flow issues coming.
I had an interview with my friend Sarah Carter, which has aired by the time this goes up. She's an actor, producer, director in Hollywood. And one of the things that we chatted about, and that has come up with a few others who have freelance type businesses, I think when her case is a little more extreme because what she deals with is sort of windfalls of money for a project and then may not work again for a year or two, or, I think maybe almost every actor's fear, like, this is the last job I'll ever get. How do you manage cash flow when the income is very irregular or completely unpredictable?
Yeah, I work with a lot of businesses who are seasonal, who are launch style businesses, who have these windfalls and then they don't. It's the most important thing you can do is to create a forecast to make your cash flow visible into the future. Right? A lot of seasonal businesses or businesses that have these kind of windfall type income streams, they are already behind. They're already in debt. So when that money comes in, when that launch money comes in, when that windfall comes in, they're literally like paying back what was already owed. So what they're left with isn't enough to get them to the next windfall, to the next seasonal, to the next, launch. So creating a cash flow forecast is going to be one of the most important things that you do in your business. People can tell so much from a cash flow forecast. You can tell if your profit's not enough. You can tell if your revenue's not enough. You can tell if your debt ratio is too high for where you are right now. You can tell if there's an ROI issue, an expense issue. You can tell so much more from a cash flow forecast than from looking at your bank account, looking at your statements, looking at your profit and loss. So for me, that's one most important piece. Yeah.
I don't want to lose people with all the let's call it jargon.
Yeah. And we can lose people.
Explain what the debt ratio means.
Yeah. So if you are operating in business or in life on the personal side where you have a certain amount of income and a certain amount of profit. So on the personal side, that would be your salary coming in and then your expenses going out. What you're left with is almost like your profit. If you have too much debt, it literally eats up the profit. So it's eating up the available cash left over in the business. And if that debt ratio, so too much debt according to what's coming in and going out, will get you stuck in a loop. It'll get you stuck on a roller coaster of money comes in and it goes right out to pay your expenses and it goes right out to pay your debt and you're left with nothing. And then you have to leverage more debt. Now you have another debt payment. Now your money's coming in. And so you're constantly Band-Aid fixing the problem. But what you're doing is you're getting yourself stuck in the debt cycle. And it can take a long time to get out of that. So
how do you get out of it?
Forecasting cash. Forecasting cash will tell you what your business or your personal life has to make, the maximums that you can spend, the minimums your profit margins need to be, and timing of how we can pay out those debts.
Yeah. So paying off that debt like a monthly expense that is non-negotiable, like keeping the lights on.
Yeah. And even something like if you get hit with a surprise tax bill, which no tax bill should ever be a surprise, but let's just
they are always a surprise. And I even honestly, like I hate, we both have similar feelings about, anyway, we'll skip over that. But I pay my interim payments and all of it, and just seeing that balance, even if it's all been paid, I'm like, blah. Really?
Yeah.
It's that much?
But you're making advance payments. You're making installment payments. There are people out there who are just running through, make the money in their business. They're not holding anything aside because they never have enough cash to hold aside. When
I will always remember my very first bookkeeper accountant was someone I went to high school with, and he took me on, which was very nice. But he has had a talk with me right away. He's like, taxes is not a game that you win or lose each year. It was like this whole thing that I just remembered. And I actually figured it out pretty early where personally and in my business, just opened a second account and I plunked the taxes in there so that it was money I could not touch.
Mhm.
You know, in Canada, like I charged HST, so I had to remit that HST.
Yeah.
And I put that in an account so that it wasn't like, what? I thought I could go spend that.
Yeah. That's a big piece, right? Making sure you understand your number so that you know how much to save for taxes and putting it. I always recommend tax savings in a separate account because it isn't yours. It doesn't belong to you. It looks like it does because it's in your account, but it does not belong to you.
And it's
Especially,
still offensive when they ask for it.
yeah, it still is. Still sucks, absolutely. But it should never take you by surprise if you're managing your finances properly. But then, if something like a surprise tax bill comes, and you're already on shaky foundation with your finances, you might be like, well, the mentality might be like, well, I don't want to pay interest to the government. I have to pay this off all now. I'm going to go get a loan to pay this off now. And then you're paying back the loan. When it really might make more sense from a cash forecasting perspective to do installment payments based on your debt ratio. It's going to be individual for every business, but knowing these things, forecasting things out gives you the answers that you need. So you get out of that, roller coaster, get off that roller coaster faster and faster.
I just want to pause here because I know, even, with my little money course that I did, how intimidated and I don't want to use the word bored, but we'll call it bored people get by looking at spreadsheets and finances, especially if they're more creatively minded. And we talked earlier about these masterminds and all these things. If finances is not something that you are proficient in or want to become, your best investment is going to be hiring Christine or someone like Christine who can do this work and talk you through it. Because it's so important if you're starting a business, if you're running a business, if you're growing a business, if you're scaling down a business. And also, though, for figuring out how to manage your personal life finances, which, I invested in coaching along these lines very early on, and it changed my life having because I would read the books, but then they quite honestly were painfully boring. They're better now. I think there's a lot better ones now, but just all the acronyms and all, like, it lost me.
Mm-hmm. It's not for
And
everyone. And
no,
if you,
I wanted it to be for me, but it wasn't.
yeah, I mean, just the same way that I'm not an expert in certain things in my business, everyone out there is not an expert in finance. And it's
Yeah.
one of the most important things to have dialed in your business. Like I said, you could be making all the money, all the conversions work, you have so many followers, everyone loves you, you have a great team, but you're still broke on the back end. So it's one of the most important pieces. You know, I I approach it and like I'm trying to translate the numbers for entrepreneurs to understand what they need to know. What do you need to know as the CEO of your business? Not what to looking at it from the lens of an accountant or of a CFO. So I'm
Yeah.
simplifying it because I know it is complicated. It's jargony, it's boring, it's technical. And especially for people who aren't numbers people, distilling that into something that makes sense and it just clicks for what they need to know right now is all they
Yeah.
need to know. And if they want to expand that education later and take it as far as the way I would look at something or an accountant would look at something is up to them. But I try and simplify things because I get it. Not everyone's a numbers person. I love spreadsheets. I think they're the best thing ever. I think you like them too, but they're
I
not for everyone.
secretly do. I just can't I can look at them. I can't create them.
Yeah,
I can't input
yeah,
information into them.
yeah.
And the other thing I think is worth mentioning is that everyone is also the CEO of their life. Like, you are the CEO, you are the CFO, you are the chief operator, you are everything of your own life if you actually haven't hired it. But so few. And everyone kind of, like you mentioned, we come into adulthood with a programming. So almost always we run our finances the way we were raised, the way our parents did. We absorb the blueprints that they impart on us
Yeah.
for better or for worse. And if we're lucky, they had it nailed and we figured it out. You know, or we have to do the work to reprogram and relearn.
Mhm.
We're working really hard with our son so that he gets it.
That's amazing.
And one of the things that, and he's gotten it almost too well, where he's like, I'll be like, do you want blah blah blah? He's like, that's a waste of money.
I love that.
And then if I'm like, do you want to take trapeze classes? He's like, how much is it? I said, you don't have to worry. Daddy and I worked really, really
Yeah.
hard so that we could have all the experiences we want in life, so that we don't have to worry about money. But we're also not gonna, buy the stuffed animal at the gift shop when you have to walk through exiting the museum.
Yeah.
Like there's things we will spend money freely on that align with our values. But, we go into adulthood with this programming that keeps us locked in a broken cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. It does.
What would you say could be like 3 practical things someone can do in their personal finances to help them have more freedom to pivot or freedom to do whatever it is they want to do?
Yeah. So, number one, really start looking at your numbers. Really start looking at what you bring in, what you spend, and look at your spending from the perspective of necessity versus pleasure. Really, really important, right? Because we want pleasure. We want to not just pay the bills and then put everything else in savings and sit on the couch every night. We want to be able to enjoy our lives, but making sure that the necessity and the pleasure aren't skewed, right? So we aren't overspending to have a really great time. When we have big goals and we want a big pivot in the future, it may require just a little tiny bit of sacrifice to make sure that we're living in a more balanced way. Look at your numbers, put your numbers on paper. Don't just look in your bank account and say, okay, cool, that makes sense. Is my balance. Now I think I can do X or Y or Z. Put your numbers on paper. Literally list out your income, list out your expenses, look at it. Try to surmise what it is trying to tell you and plan that for the future. Say, okay, next month, if this happens, then, and then you can start to create a little bit of a forecast for yourself. Check your mindset as well. I think it's really, really important when you are wanting to pivot, wanting to do something different, whatever that is, to check your mindset. Look at your numbers, check your mindset, don't avoid. Those would be my top tips from the finance perspective.
Is there a specific formula that you could offer in terms of preparing for this freedom? Like, for example, aim to live off, 80%, 60%, 10% of your income. Like, is there a way that someone could say, okay, like I earn $100,000 a year. I hope to be free and to move on in 1 year's time. Maybe that's unrealistic. And I think that's also important. Like 1 year might not be enough. And we're so used to everything being able to be done so fast that it might be a 15-year plan to build up your financial freedom and independence and flexibility. So is there any kind of formula that someone could say, okay, here's a great place that I could start?
You know what? I would love for there to be a formula, but I don't think there is, because everyone's position is going to be unique. Someone
Mm-hmm.
might have expenses where someone else doesn't. Someone might have kids where someone else doesn't. Someone might have student loans where someone else doesn't. And the money required for the pivot is going to be different in each case. But what I will say is there has to be significant savings happening every single month. So while I can't give you a live off of 80%, live off of 70%,
Right.
the general goal is save 10% of your income that comes in. That number needs to be much higher for this. It needs to be much higher. You also need your money working for you. So maybe it's not just sitting in the bank account. Maybe it is invested somewhere. And I don't get into investments too much, but maybe it's invested somewhere where it is working for you in an educated way, not in a risky, I'm going to throw my money into the stock market and bet on this thing and then you lose all your money. Being
Let's just talk about what that means, though, the working for you.
Yeah. Bringing it to someone who can invest that money for you in whatever capacity that you're interested in, that money will make money. So trying to have passive income coming in from your savings is really important. That might look like I'm going to rent out part of my house to a roommate. That might look like I'm going to get an Airbnb, right? That requires money to do. That might look like I'm putting my money into investments in a bank in an external capacity. I'm putting my money somewhere where it's gaining more money on top of it. Passive
Mhm.
income is really, really important when you're doing this as well. So making sure that you're working for the money and you also have passive income, attempting passive income to come in some way. Even in business, like there's so many businesses who might have a profit issue where if we just put in a little bit of passive income, now passive income in a business means money that's not attached to an expense that's really high, it's really passive, can increase their profit, increase their savings so much.
Yeah.
So that's really important. And I always defer out for investing. It's not something that I do in my business, but we don't want that money just sitting in a bank account. We want that working, growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in your business account in Canada, even something like a GIC at the very least for 6 months if you're not sure, and those rates are negotiable, which I think a lot of people don't know,
Yeah.
is you can I mean, they're coming down, and the interest rate thing is an interesting topic because there's like, I want more higher interest on my investments, but when the interest rates come down, it often means your mortgage rate comes down. It's all
Yeah.
connected,
Exactly. Yeah.
but you really don't want, all your money sitting in a bank account earning 0.1%.
Absolutely. Yeah. And bring that to, I'm just thinking of the title. I guess it's like an investor. What's the title of the person I'm looking for? A financial advisor, potentially, who
Yeah.
can give you the options, because it's not just to like, here, put this in a GIC for a year. Here, put this in a TFSA. You gain you like 2% in a year. You know what I mean? There are more creative things that are able to be done, that are happening out there, that someone who can look at your entire picture and position can suggest to you. There's
Mhm.
very interesting creative things that can be done that are, of course, legal. Of course, I would never recommend not, but there's really interesting things that you can do out there. So once you have
Yeah.
looked at the plan in detail, the timing, right? Once you know that you're going to be banking money every month, getting that money working for you might require a really great conversation with an investment advisor, just to make sure that you can compound what you're doing, your efforts.
So someone listening right now, thank you whoever's still listening, because this isn't usually the people who most need to hear this are the ones who don't want to be here the most. So good for you for taking this time for yourself to learn something that is and can be challenging. And hopefully Christine's doing a great job of simplifying it because that's what she's really great at. So someone who's listening and maybe feeling both inspired and overwhelmed, but hopefully so inspired that they are going to overcome the overwhelm to do something, like what is something someone can do this week to actually start this process?
Well, they can. I have ongoing master classes that they can find on my Instagram, which are going to really simplify and break down money and cash and all of that stuff. I would highly recommend attending that. It'll be a bit of a baseline education, and it's free, and anyone can join and just start to build that financial literacy. The most important,
Your Instagram, I just want to mention it's Good Measure
it's
Finance.
at Good Measure Finance. Yeah, at
Yeah.
Good Measure Finance altogether. Yeah, because I think building that financial literacy piece is really important, and making this part of your regular acumen. Like, no longer like, I'm not a numbers person. Don't give yourself that title. Maybe you are a numbers person. You're just a numbers person in a different capacity than I might be. So I think it's really, really important to meet yourself where you are. Have a very honest conversation about what you want. Meet yourself where you are. Start to look at your numbers. Put your numbers on paper. Listen to a master class. I have a course called The Vault, which is a self-study course. It does have some support, but it's mostly self-study. Something like that would be an incredible place to start for someone who's like, I have a business, I have a life, I don't understand my numbers, I want to understand my numbers. And it starts to build that financial foundation for you. Yeah.
I can't stress enough, like, next to understanding how to feed and nourish yourself and your family, like money is up there too, because it's the tool that lets us make those
Yeah.
choices and do and live how we want to live and have the experiences we want to have. And to avoid it is selling yourself short on the capacity of living this one beautiful, precious life.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's these blind spots with the finances, with the money, the fear around it, the avoidance of it, the not knowing what you don't know, all very natural. Many, many people have that. But everyone who is experiencing a financial issue could be operating at a higher, more positive capacity with finances, feel like they're leading their money instead of their money leading them, if they just leaned into this a little bit more. It's not something
In your
hard.
in your own life, you're 29, you recognized you had a self-limiting money mindset, did the work to shift it. What trends, like how has that changed how you live your life, your quality of life?
Well, I think in some regard, money brings freedom. When you have your money dialed in, your money's working for you, you know how everything's going, how everything's working. You're not in debt, you're not stuck in the debt cycle. Your money is then allowing you to live the lifestyle that you want. So for me, coming out of that, realizing that belief at 28, 29 and saying, hey, like I'm the problem here, let's figure this all out, takes time, right? Took time to get out of debt, took time. But what it led me to was high level positions, raises every 3 months, being promoted. Do you know what I mean? Like gaining the traction in my career. I'm not explaining this properly, but gaining the traction in my career that could lead me to more education and more and more and more. And then that led to the pivot of my business, which is quite successful. And as a finance person is profitable. I never operate in a capacity that's unsafe for me. And that means a very profitable business where I can pay myself really well, where I can have the benefits of owning a business, which is a time freedom, finances that I don't necessarily have to worry about. Being able to choose if I want to go to Italy for 3 months next year, which I am in the spring, I can do that and I don't have to worry about it. So it brings peace and it brings, safety and it brings calm and a regulated nervous system. So I think as you start to meet yourself where you are and realize that you might have some limiting beliefs or upper level limits, that's a scary place to be. But it's so much better on the other side that it's worth the uncomfort, the discomfort of going through it.
Do you ever worry about money personally?
I think I always think about it because it's my job. I see people's businesses
Yeah.
every day. So it's always in my mind. But no, I don't worry about it in that capacity. I know my numbers really, really well. I know what my business has to do. I've built a business that is very profitable, that there's not a ton of back end costs associated with it. I know my ROIs. I know my pricing works. If something isn't working, I'm looking at my numbers so closely that I pull back from it. I lean into what's working, pull back from what's not. So I have a different relationship with money. It's more about thinking about what I want this business to be for the future and how it will unfold and change and organically shift and evolve. But no, I wouldn't say that I am caught up with worrying about money very much at all.
Do you ever look at aspects of your business or aspects of your life and be like, this isn't really, whether it's generating money, this isn't generating enough money, or this is wasting money, when you're so focused on the numbers and that's it? Or are there things where it's like, this part of my business is not earning money, but I love it so much, I'm going to keep doing it anyway?
Well, personally, no, I don't. If something isn't earning money and profitable for me, I'm not going to
Yeah.
spend a lot of time. Because there's always side projects. There's always
Yeah.
side quests and things like that I'm really interested in. I'll always take, certain clients and certain projects. I'll take more time. I'll go deeper with them, even though I might be shrinking the profit margin for sure. But for me, the business is a vehicle to a life that I'm trying to create, to financial freedom, to all of that stuff. And I have to it's like ingredients in a soup. You have to make sure that those ingredients are going to make the soup that you want, right? So that's what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Do you have your own personal timeline for financial freedom? Like, I will get there in 5 years, 10 years? Or are you one of those people that's like, I love what I do, I'm going to work till the day I
I
die?
think about this a lot, actually. When you ask, do I think about money? I think about that. I think about retiring. Oh, it's not that I can't imagine myself retiring. I can imagine myself retiring in a capacity that's maybe a little bit different. I do want to continue working. I love my business. I love being a business owner. So I'm not sure. I think I might continue to work for the joy of it. I love seeing numbers click into place. I love business owners seeing these lessons click into place. I don't really want to give that up anytime soon.
That's great. I see you. I mean, I've worked with you and I know you love your work and how you've chosen to work, which is so wise. Like I don't want to say it's contained, but your goals are very, very clear.
Yeah.
And I admire you for that. I think I got a little bit lost, not in what I was doing, but in thinking the growth needed to be continuous, and the growth leaps I wanted bigger and bigger.
Uh-huh.
And I lost, and I don't want to blame being in this entrepreneurship community for that, but it did show me what was possible and what other people were doing. I was like, well, I can do that too. And I kind of lost my way, not in what I was delivering, but in the back end stuff.
Yeah.
And I admire that you're like, no, these are the goals, this is the projections, and I will get there, and at the same time delivering tremendous value for everyone you work with as you're
Yeah.
progressing in your own
And
business.
not everyone approaches it the same as I do. I'm a linear thinker. I'm a little neurodivergent, so it's very much numbers and figures for me. Other people might feel their way into their business a little bit more, and that's okay. I've had revenue streams that weren't working for me, and I tried to make them work for so long, and then I was like, all right, I'm saying goodbye to this, and I
Yeah.
think when I met you was at the tail end of letting go of a revenue stream that was actually costing me more in pain and suffering and headaches than it was already generating six figures, but it was so frustrating to manage on the back end that I was like, not for me. So
Yeah.
letting go of those things can sometimes be really important too. Yeah.
Yeah. Any final words of guidance, advice, light the fire for people to do
Yeah,
this?
don't be afraid of money. Money is an ally. Money is an anchor. You have to lead the money in your life and in your business to get to where you want to go. Literally, money is an ally and an anchor. And we have to start looking at it as a friend and not something to be afraid of. It's the biggest advice I can impart.
Beautiful. Thank you. I could talk to you about money forever because not a lot of people want to talk about it. And we used to chat all the time.
Yes.
Where can everyone go to find you? We mentioned your Instagram, Good Measure Finance, at Good Measure Finance, and your website.
Yep. Goodmeasurefinance.com is the website. You can find me there and on Instagram. And I do masterclasses live every single week to educate, to start to shift the gap between business owners who are fearing the money in their business and what they really need to know, those pieces that the profit and loss isn't telling them and all of that. So yeah, they can find me there, and I hope to see everyone there.
Thank you so much, Christine.
Thank you, Megan. Such a pleasure.
Thank you for listening. If you take one thing away from this, I think it is get to know your cash flow. Do not be afraid of the data. Do not shy away from the numbers. As Christine mentions, she has a few courses and offerings available, and I continue to have Money Mastery available as well. There are so many resources out there for you, and I really, really, really want you to go and do this. Master this. Do not believe the mindset or the programming you grew up with around money, or even what you may believe about yourself. Everyone can do this. It's data. It's data. And once you have that knowledge, you can apply it in your life. And we have to reimagine money and wealth, and all of it is not the root of all evil. It is a source for positive prosperity. It can liberate you to do powerful, wonderful, beautiful, positive things in your life and in the world. And the world needs all of us doing positively, powerful, prosperous, wonderful things. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, if you're enjoying the show, I kindly ask that you leave a comment, leave a review. We've got all the show notes and links to everything Christine offers over on The Courageous Pivot, or you can look up my name, Meghan Telpner. You will find it all there. Thank you so much for listening today, and have a beautiful rest of your day.